All right, next up we have a very important concept, which is the dot. So as we saw in the dotted half note, which was worth 3 beats, let's actually define what the dot does. So a dot can be next to any type of note in music, and the dot means we're going to add half of what the note before it was to itself. Let me explain. That sounds more complicated than it is. So let's pretend that you have a quarter note that's worth 1 beat, and then we have a dot next to it that's worth half of a beat. A dotted quarter, therefore, would be worth 1.5 beats. So let me give you another example. My little sister's name is Emma. Emma has 4 letters in it. So if I were to write Emma dot, I would take half of what 4 is, which is 2, and I would add it to 4. So an Emma dot would be 6 letters. Let's give another example. If I have a whole note that's worth 4 beats, and then I add a dot next to it, how much is the dot worth? We want to take half of the 4, so that's 2. Again, a dotted whole note would therefore be held for 6 beats like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? This is pretty simple for the longer held tones, but it gets more complicated the faster the dot is. So for example, if we're talking about a quarter note, and then we're talking about a dotted quarter note, that's 1.5 beats. So how would you count that? So let's take a look at this very simple pattern. It's a dotted quarter note next to an eighth note next to a dotted quarter and an eighth note. So if you're brand new to music, you might be like, I don't know how to count that yet. So here are the steps to be able to figure out any rhythm. So the first thing is you need to determine what is the fastest thing happening in this music. So what is the fastest thing? Number 2, identify what the fastest thing is and then write out underneath it that subdivision. Okay? So for example, in this example, we have a dotted quarter with an eighth note. So the fastest thing we have going on is eighth notes. So we need to go back and think about, how do we count eighth notes? Well, we count eighth notes by counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or we say T, 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 T. So underneath the music, I would write 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So since we know that the dotted quarter is worth 1.5 beats, we're gonna go 1 and 2. So it doesn't get the full second beat, it only gets the first half of the second beat. All right, so let's go through this slowly. The third step after you determine the fastest thing is that you clap it and say it at the same time using that small subdivision. So for example, after I wrote it down, I could count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. After you practice that several times, the fourth step is to practice clapping and saying it faster. So I would go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The fifth step is just repeat it, and then the sixth and final step is to actually play it or sing it. Depends on the instrument. So I'll just use piano for example. If the rhythm was dotted quarter with an eighth, dotted quarter with an eighth, and this is my tempo, 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Now, it's really important that we count with the fastest subdivision, Otherwise, we could lose track of the dots and the ands and all the fast notes. So I hope that helps. I'll give you a few more examples that you can practice at home. The next example is this: dotted quarter next to an eighth, then it's a quarter rest, and then 4/16 notes. Can you figure out that rhythm? All right, step number 1, let's go through it together. What do? We identify the fastest thing happening there, which is the 16th notes. How do we count 16th notes? Ticka-tickas, or 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E. Okay? All right, let's try it really slow. So we're gonna go 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Whoa, let's try it again. A little bit slow. 1, 2, and ready, go. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Okay, I feel like I got that down pretty well, so I'm gonna speed it up. Okay, I'll go 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a. Oh, I messed up. Try again. 1E and a 2E and a. Oh, I messed up again. So that means I need to slow it down before I move on. Okay? 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Okay, now we can move on. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So now I'm going to try to play it. 1E and a 2E and a. Now let's see if I can play it faster. 1E and a 2E and a. Pretty cool. All right, I hope that helps you be able to break down rhythm a little bit easier for you. Cheers.